Welcome back to Disc Golf Daily, everyone. I am here with Anthony Bodanza. You may know him, you may not, but if you don't know him, he is a disc golf YouTube content creator, and he has some of the best content, honestly, and he posts consistently about that stuff. So, Anthony, thanks for coming on Disc Golf Daily.
Of
How you
course,
doing?
thanks for having me. Pretty good, man. I'm good. Just 5 days into becoming a dad, so I'm kind of surprised. Sleep has been on and off, but I didn't realize how much my really poor sleep schedule has trained me to have a kid because I was running on really bad, really poor sleep for a while, and now I'm doing the same.
Yeah.
And feel better than I should, but that just makes me know that if I actually slept well, I could feel so much better. So that's
hmm
something to realize for like 3 years from now when I can get back to normal sleep schedules.
Yeah. So people don't realize, I feel like, that when you're trying to post like daily or close to every day, that you're editing most of those days, you're also filming. So it's a lot of
Mhm.
daytime filming and late night editing. Kind of.
I mean, we could blame it on that, but I would say it's more of a lack of discipline for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I get
It's a bit
it
of both.
too.
Yeah.
I get it too, because it's like after a long day, even if it's like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., you just get in your bed. You want to just like have some time to chill. You don't want to go to bed and work immediately the next day. So
hmm
I 100% um get that. So talk to us more about that that aspect, how you balance normal life with content creation.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. I don't necessarily think about it in terms of like a balance. I more think about it in terms of like a harmony because
Hmm
it's definitely a very unbalanced life a lot of the times. Um, and my schedule is constantly evolving because I'm constantly changing how I'm actually doing things. It's been interesting honestly because I went through a couple stages recently where I first got into creating content and I was like, okay, I got into disc golf January 2022, so about 2.5 years ago, and I was already creating YouTube content. I had like maybe 5 or 6 failed channels starting in middle school, and then eventually getting to the point where I had a semi-successful channel that's just my name that I haven't now posted on in about 2 years. But I was like, man, there's a lot of people who like want more disc golf content, and the disc golf content that's out there, like there's room for more good content. And so I had a style already that I curated, and I just kind of brought it to disc golf a little bit, and it was slow going until I really started. I'm just a competitive person by nature, and I was like, hey, I want to like document my journey and see maybe if I can get to the pro tour or whatever, because I knew everyone was talking about how disc golf is like it's a smaller sport, so it's an easier sport to kind of get good quickly. And I was already working for myself, so I was like, I have all this time, and I started creating videos about like my move from MA2 to MA1, and that those are the first videos that like started popping a little bit. And I was like, ooh, if I commit to this, it can be something good. And so I went through the stage where I'm like, I'm going to focus really hard on just getting really good at content, and then I'll get really good at disc golf. And I didn't really work on forum or stuff, and I kept getting better just because I would play so much, and I like have always been relatively like quick adapting to the things that I take up, especially like sports wise. And so I got better without putting like a crazy amount of like intentional focused work on it. And then eventually my channel got to the point where it was self-sufficient. And of course I have to do a lot to maintain it. For me, I feel like I have to post between 15 to 25 videos a month to really feel like comfortable financially about all of it, because disc golf is there's a lower amount of views on the top end or on the consistent end. So you have to just post more to make sure that you're making a good income. And so I was like, okay, I got this. Now I'm going to focus on getting really good. And so last off season into the beginning of this season was really focused on that. And that changed my schedule into a lot of working on playing better. And honestly, like there was a lot of training that went along with that, but a lot of it was just my mindset shifted to trying to become a pro. And that was cool. And I'm glad that I did that because I learned that like that's not what's gonna one get me to that stage, because I'm expecting things of myself too quickly on in my career. I'm only 2 years into playing, and I like was like, okay, now I'm gonna focus on going and playing these pro tour events, and I did, and I didn't cash in any of them, and I played I think 4 this year, and my finishes got better and better, and my understanding on my game got better and better, but I I stopped like posting as much or putting as much effort into my content. And I think you saw that in how excited I was about making content, and in the content I was making when I was on the road. I was just like playing and focusing on that, and the content was coming secondary. And then I flipped a switch kind of at the end of my tour time. I was in the PNW and I played Cascade Challenge, and I was like, I'm going to focus a little bit more on like making content again and not worrying about like becoming a pro. And so my days still were, it was hard on the road, really being more disciplined, coming from a stage where I was like posting maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And I still did that for a while I would try to just make better content and honestly plan, because we just had a baby 5 days ago and I have 12
Congratulations.
videos. Thank you. I have 12 videos like ready in the chamber to edit, so that I don't have to go and film this month if I don't want to, and I can still like maintain a living because I do this full time for myself. And there's some sort of like passive aspect of like my back catalog is making some money from ad revenue, but I basically, it's active work. Like I have to be doing it to be making money. I don't
Yeah.
have like paternity leave that I pay into, and so like I don't get any of those benefits. But um, I I'm really glad that I focused again on making content, because my focus on that helped me to like cash a Cascade challenge, which basically had the strength of field of like the best like silver series last year. So I was pretty stoked on that. And then I didn't play well at Portland or Beaver State, but most of that was like putting, but I was playing better and much like more confident in my play. And so coming back home, I was focusing so much more on content again that I took a couple weeks off just to like just completely reset before I really dove back hard into it, knowing that I had about 5 or 6 weeks for the baby. And then because I stopped focusing on like, oh, I need to be a pro, I need to be really good, I need to like prove to myself that all this work that I'm putting in is like worth it, by like forcing my play to prove that rather than just like letting my play prove that. And so I didn't like practice for this tournament. I played one of the courses one time and one of the other courses I maybe like 2 times for a tournament or something, but maybe a good bit ago. And I went in and I like didn't really practice for it. I shot 10-10 every single round. Basically, I think it was like 10-12, 1008, 10-10, and like got fourth at this big A tier where I only lost like people who most people who were like really into disc golf would know of. And so that was pretty sweet. And it made me realize like if my dream from middle school was being a YouTuber, and then I achieved that, and then I throw it away for like this thing that I have had for 2 years, like there can be a balance there. And I think my balance, I don't know if it will always be this way, but I don't see why it would change. My balance will always be on being a YouTuber, creating content first, and then just like having the avenue of that be trying to also become a pro, but more treating that as a hobby. And so now my day to day, well, for the last month, my day to day was just like I posted every day from let me actually double check. I'm pretty sure it was the maybe the 26th of June, because our baby was August 7th. And I said, hey, I'm going to post. I announced that we were having the baby because no one knew. I also kind of introduced my wife to the channel because I hadn't really done that before, but I posted that announcement. I've been keeping a massive secret from you. That video was, it just says a month ago. Why does it not tell me how many days? 47 days ago. And then I posted every day for 40 days. And because one, I wanted to make sure that if I wasn't able to post a lot during baby time, I had posted enough that I could have maybe some residual income that I just saved from July roll into August before I could get back to like seeing what my schedule creating content looks like. But those day to days were like, wake up, I go to train. I train 5 days a week actually, with a certified strength and conditioning specialist who is like really helping put my body into the right place to do all the movements correctly. And that's another tangent that we can maybe get into if you'd like. But that has been helpful. So I'll go and train typically in the morning at like 9:30, and then from training I'll probably go and shoot 1 or 2 videos, and then I'll come home and edit. And for a while my videos are getting up like midnight to 1 a.m. because I would get home, like veg out for a couple hours, and then be like, well, time to get a video up. And so I'd start editing at like 8 or 9 o'clock, and the video would get up at like midnight. But now my schedule is taking care of baby and maybe doing a little bit of editing. But as I get into the stage where I'm not trying to do 2 months of worth of work of like filming and editing in 1 month, it'll probably be filming maybe 4 or 5 days a week and then editing most of the days. I would love to get to a place where I'm ahead on content, but the schedule's not always the same. But I probably am shooting 10 videos a week and editing 7 or so right now. And then I also have like on top of that a little bit of obligations with my contract with Infinite where I need to post 1 video a month there, and I'm behind on those. So now it's 1 video every 3 weeks for the rest of the year. And so probably doing like 8 videos a week, because I also have my second. There's a lot of stuff that's going on that I don't know. I have really good ADHD, so I like to keep really busy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you said you introduced your wife, but
Mhm.
OGs would have already known on the Bodanza's channel, Van Life Tour. Like, bro, like I'm an OG, bro. I've
True.
been there since
True.
the Bodanzas. Even though she was introduced on the disc golf channel, bro, I've already she's already a key part in the Bodanzas. My watch, the Bodanzas as in his channel name, by the way. But
Yeah.
to get back on track, how do you think you started in January 2022 and you're like ratings wise better than me, you're cashing at Pro Tour, and I started in April 2021. How do
Not
you
cashing at Pro Tour.
What?
But thank you. I'm not cashing at actual Pro Tour yet. I just cashed a silver event last year. I wouldn't give that.
Okay.
We can kind of
well,
count it.
you gave it that at the time.
Yeah,
So
that's true. It was a pro tour qualification of some sort.
Okay, so but you're doing well. How do you think
Mhm.
you've progressed so fast? Is it because you just play disc golf as your full-time job, or what is the secret behind that?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of things. I think one is just how much I have played and thrown. I think an interesting thing is most of the discs behind me I actually counted with my wife. I think 80% of those discs back there were like sent to me for reviews, and most of those within like the past year or so because I used to run mystery boxes. And so what's fun about doing disc reviews is you're like constantly learning new discs, and so in order to one review well, you have to know how you throw because if like I'm throwing and I'm like, oh, I don't know why I'm shanking all these shots today, the review's not going to be very good. And so I had to really learn and like know how I throw it. But also, you're throwing just shots that I wouldn't throw in my bag, and so it's kind of indirectly working on different parts of the game that I wouldn't otherwise work on because I'm like, oh, I'm going to test this for a review, and then you're like, well, my body now knows how to throw this weird shot with like a flip up forehand with like a A5 or something. It's like, well, now I can kind of implement that into like a pushier forehand with maybe like a straight mid range, like, and so that's one of the fun things. And so throwing a lot has been very helpful. Um, and I think a big part of it that is honestly like I'm not like the most athletic person ever, but I've always been more like at the high average to above average in terms of like picking athletic things up quickly. So like when I was in high school, I started playing soccer, and my junior year was like my first full like year ever playing soccer. Like besides when I was in like kindergarten, and I wasn't the best technically, but I was one of the fast on the team, so they named me one of the captains on. There were two varsity teams. It was a D2 school, and they had a D1 program because they were so good at soccer, and so I was the captain of the basically JV team, but we played other schools varsity team. And then I was like on varsity next year. And so like I've always picked up things relatively quickly. And I think that also goes well with disc golf. And then my brain is very much like a problem solving thing. And so like disc golf being a sport where it's like athletic and then you're problem solving and you have to be a little analytical, that's been very helpful. But then on top of that, it has very recently been a lot of intentional work because I feel like I was better at disc golfing when I was way worse at throwing. And now I've gotten way better at throwing, at least backhand wise. And my disc golfing, especially putting, has gotten a little bit worse because just the focuses have shifted. But I feel like that was a necessary shift to get to my like ultimate high end goals, which are like playing on tour as much as possible, hopefully cashing, maybe doing even better than that, but eventually earning a tour card. Um, but I would say, yeah, it's just a lot of practice. And then I'm like super nerdy and analytical. And so I would just practice by throwing. And then when I was like, okay, now it's time to not dial back on the content, but also dial up the getting good at disc golf side of things, I was able to do it pretty analytically. And I'm inherently very curious. So I would always like ask why, and try to get down to like, not just like the first answer, it wouldn't satisfy me. I try to get, okay, why is that the case? And it gets down to like now the biomechanics of how things are moving. And that's become very interesting. And I've honestly started talking less about form because it's kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect where like your confidence and your like experience or like expertise are proportion, and it starts out where you have no expertise but you're very confident, and then you realize how much you don't know. And I feel like I'm starting to climb up the other end where like I'm becoming more of an expert in throwing and how like understanding how that happens, but I'm not very confident in that yet. And so I think eventually I'll get to the point where I have a good understanding of biomechanics of the sport. um but right now I've like stopped talking about it as much because I still feel like there's so much that I don't know, which is a little confusing and probably not the best for like my overall disc golf game in the moment, but I think it'll be helpful in the long term.
No, yeah, I'm kind of I'm the same way with you. I've in regards to that, I've like worked really hard on my form for 3 years, and I can throw really far, and I think I'm in a really good place with my form, and it's been showing. I've been playing a lot better. My putting's not great, but once I get my putting better, but I've been playing a lot better, and I've been throwing really far, and it's just been disc golf easier, and that's because for the first 3 years, it took a little longer than I wanted, but when I first started, I was like, I'm just gonna focus on form and getting it good because I know that's a good foundation to have, and I do think any type of form you can get to like a certain threshold in disc golf, my
Mm-hmm.
belief, but at a certain point, you can if your form's like too weird, like I do believe you'll like plateau. Whereas like to keep rising, I think there is like a certain um everyone's form is different, but there is a certain like thing you have to do to keep rising. Because if you're like throwing like super janky and like air bouncing, like you could get to 1,000 rated, like throwing all air bounces, but there'll be a certain moment where it's like this doesn't go far enough. So that was and the biggest thing I focused on my form was to get like ease of accuracy and distance, because form, a huge part of distance is form, and just knowing your body is doing the right things for accuracy. So I told myself for the first, I'm like, I'm just gonna figure my form, and it's been a journey. It's literally been 3 years. I think I finally, after 3 years, I finally am like comfortable where every additional thing that I might try, like I guess there's nothing left really for major things for me to try. Like I know like where my elbow's supposed to be. I know that I need to lead with my elbow. I'm not no longer testing like, oh, am I leading with my shoulder? Am I bringing my hand in first? You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like you said, nerding out about that stuff. Where it's like I'm at a point where I like how my form looks, and that there's not really anything that I see where or need to try that I think would be correct, because I think everything I've trial and errored anything. So I'm happy to be at the point now, but yeah, I was in the same mindset of just like figuring it out so you can now, so then you'll thank yourself later once you're like, can focus more on disc golf, less on form, and just hopefully I'm at the point where hopefully it'll pay off and I'll be able to, really kind of climb and escalate now that I'm not even thinking about form and I have a good foundation. I guess long story short, I was just trying to build a solid foundation. So, do you, so this is something I struggle with, because I also want to get better at disc golf. I do want to be a pro eventually, whether that's on, like locally, like I'd be okay with that. Just like playing. I want to get good. I love disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes feel like if I bring a camera out to record myself, that I'm just super distracted, and I'm not getting any good practicing or something like that. It's always about the camera shot, and like I'm not really thinking about anything, and it just takes way longer than normal. Like a 2-hour round takes like 4 hours or something like that. So where I'm going with this, do you think you recording yourself all the time is kind of hurting maybe you growing as fast as you potentially could to get that pro tour level, since you do it all the time?
I think in a vacuum, like without context, I would say yes, but in context, I would say definitely no, because without context, like if I was to not like filming, like you lose strokes, like you want to be focused when you're playing, and then when I'm filming, I'm not focused. I'm focused on getting a good shot, creating entertaining content, not throwing the best shots possible. In a sense, that's can be helpful for you if you're too in your head, because you just get out and you're focused on being entertaining, and sometimes it stinks, but sometimes you could just like let it flow, and you're focusing so hard on something else that like you're just like, I want to throw the shot like this, and as long as you're able to give it that little bit of focus in the time, your body, and you're like, oh, I'm not worrying about how I'm throwing right now, I'm just playing. But and so in a vacuum, yeah, like if I was in a, my form would look so much better than it does right now, especially because I wouldn't have as many like reps that are bad. Like, because I think my form is limiting me in a lot of ways in terms of like, so the way that I think about form is that your form is like the percentage of your power output that you can access from your body. So like if you are stronger and like have better mobility in the right areas, then your form is able to transmit into a disc. You need to get your form better. But if your form is all right and you're just like not strong, not fast, not mobile enough, then maybe you just need to increase those things. And so it's two prongs of the same thing that need to get better and better in order to be at the most elite level for what your body can do. But for me right now, I think that the work that I've been doing in the gym and my like range of motion increases that are in the correct like places that have good integrity and movements, and my strength overall and explosiveness has gotten so much better than my form is able to work on. And for the past 6 weeks, I've done absolutely zero form work just because I'm focused on like making videos. And so in a sense, yeah, like I think you could basically probably change almost all your form in 6 weeks if you gave it the amount of effort that I gave to my my filming. But in context, there's no chance that I'd be good as I was or getting to the point that I could without this, because I wouldn't have even close to the proximity to the players that I do that are because of my channel, who will help me to get better even faster. Like a lot of the better players on the Pro Tour are some of my better friends in disc golf. And so I'm able to play rounds with them when I see them and able to ask for their opinions on things. and like I wouldn't have that without the channel. With if I wasn't filming, if I stopped, like I've like of course we have a relationship that might be able to transcend past that now, but on top of that too, like financially, like I would have to go and find a different job than this. And so
Yeah.
I'm still able to do some things I practice. So in context, I don't think it's hurting me. But out of context, yeah, for sure. Like I would be way better, but I think I can balance both those things and also understand where my priorities are, which is kind of what I had to change earlier on in this year. Was my priorities aren't on being the best disc golfer that I possibly can be in this moment. It's having a long career both in disc golf and in, more importantly, on YouTube, and being a YouTuber first, and working on this kind of as a hobby. With I don't have a crazy amount of spare time, but a lot of it just goes to my training, in terms of both like my body and my disc golf game. And so like in context, I think it's probably the best thing for me, because I don't have like this wealth of money that I can draw from to just like do nothing for a year and get really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I like have a family to support. And so like there's, in context, I don't think there's a better thing for me than what I do to get as good as disc golf as possible, especially because like people are interested in my journey for getting better. And that's kind of how I structure my channel. So like if I wanted to transition some of my content, I do think disc reviews do better for me overall, and I prefer making those. But if I want to transition for a month or two, just like I'm just going to focus on getting really good and making daily videos and figure out how to like package that and story tell that in a really good way. I could just focus on getting better for a month if I really wanted to. And I actually have a video that I'm planning on doing with the baby that's kind of partially with this, but I could just do that for a month. And like, because I have the channel, I'm able to do that. And so in context, I think it's way better for me. But in each moment that I'm like filming a video, yeah, I'm way worse than I potentially could be if I wasn't as distracted as I am. But I think it's a good thing overall.
100%. I think that's exactly the answer I would give in your shoes. Like, yeah, you would probably have to find another job which would distract you even more, so that you're making money through playing. Is like pretty. It's definitely in context. It is the best thing, and that's maybe probably where I struggle because well, my full time job, I own a tackle store, but in disc golf is in a different way. It's with like kind of like the expos and in podcasting. So when I have that disc golf time and having like, a camera to do it, then that's pretty much like all my time.
Mhm.
Is just like I don't get to like just like enjoy just playing disc golf. And
I do have
that's
a tip for that as well. I
yeah,
think one of
share it.
one of the things that is helpful for me is, one is kind of how you position your content, the audience that you're going after. For me, I understand that a lot of my like, if I look at my analytics real fast, and I can, if you want to put somewhere as a visual, I can like send you like a link to it. But in the last 90 days, the last quarter, my like returning viewers, I'll just show you this real fast. My returning viewers, so people who've watched my content and come back to watch more of my content, it's 131.3 thousand people, or accounts. My unique viewers are 205,000 people, but my average video views, I think, are like, the median's probably like 14,000. The average is probably like 18,000. And so if there's 131,000 people who are returning to watch multiple videos of mine in a 90-day period, all I know about that is some people are watching some of my videos and not others. And like, I'm very okay with that. I understand that like this, some people aren't going to watch my disc reviews. Some people are only going to watch those. Some people aren't going to watch my tournament stuff. Some people are only going to watch that. And so positioning that in a way and knowing who your audience is, but then on top of it, all my videos include some ideas about form, and some of the territory that comes along with that are there. You're going to get comments of like, wow, this guy's just complaining about everything, when sometimes I'm just like thinking through form things in
Yeah,
my head.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, I
100%.
missed this because of this, and it's like more of an explanation, and maybe it's complaining, like maybe it's an excuse. Like, I guess you can interpret that how you want, but if you're going out and filming, you can still like say, hey, I'm also like, hey, this is what we're doing today, and also I'm working on this. And so adding another like a B plot to a video where it's like, okay, we're gonna go out and we're gonna like play maple reds and try to ace and everything, but on top of that, I'm also working on standstills, or I'm working on this type of pull through, I'm working on my forehand touch, or like adding a secondary plot to the video that is something that you want to work on in disc golf while you're also delivering on the main crux of the content that you want to do, I think is almost always only additive. If somebody is like not only there to like, oh, I'm reviewing this disc, I just want to see 5 flights of the disc. Like, that's not how my content's going to be, and I'm never
Hmm.
going to make my content like that, just because that's not what I like making, and that's not what the majority of my audience wants. And so like, if that's what someone's coming and looking for, they're already going to be dissatisfied. And so me adding in this other thing, like, they're already not going to like that I'm just like bantering and being stupid throughout the rest of the video. but most people are going to be like, oh, this is also interesting. And so they don't have to watch a video on you working on your forehand touch as well as a video of you reviewing like the Zone OS or something. You could put them both together, and you also don't have to title and thumbnail it that way, because like that's just too much. Like you just need to, hey, I'm reviewing this thing, but I also really am working on this. And as long as you don't make it like this massive thing, you can think about it in the background and focus on it while also delivering on the main form of content that you're trying to put out. And that way there's like two things that are going on at once, and you're still getting better and that while you're doing the main thing that you're out there to do.
Yeah, well, I think that's why I personally try and position my content a little different. Like you've probably seen, so I don't post a ton, but it's more like challenges, like first one to ace or first one to do this. Or recently, I've been kind of switching and doing more sit down kind of disc golf games. Nothing really about my performance, and I think that's because I think you were I feel like me personally, how you are like you were the first one to really start as like an amateur, post consistently like this is my journey. And then we kind of saw people start posting those same type of videos after you came out on scene. This is just, again, this is just my opinion, and I think you set yourself up as you're the guy for that. And me personally, that's how I think. Like you're the guy that you go to watch play, to watch the reviews, because that's how you set yourself up. And I think that's probably why I'm trying to I make different. Part of the reason why I make different content is because you pretty much have that like locked down, that kind of like day in the life. This is this review type thing, because you get the most views of it, and but that's what people know you for. So I'm just trying to kind of do something different. So that's why I haven't really done any, like, don't really take the camera with me on the course. But I will say with that, I want to, I think that's probably my preferred piece of content that I would want to do, is kind of like what you're doing. It's just, I feel like I got to get better, because the reason I watch pros is because they're pros. Like Gannon can record on his phone and like kind of edit it like without anything, how he does, and it blows up. It's because it's Gannon. He's an insane pro. So I eventually do want to transition to that kind of like play with me type style and reviews, but I want to get better enough for people to actually care, and it's not just some like 928 rated, like, oh, like this, like, come play with me at whole night. Like, no one really, not many people care. It's the brand, but it's the brand you built up, and that's why, because people care about you. And I think I want to eventually get to that content, but I feel like I got to get better, and by making people care about like how I play, if that makes sense.
I think it kind of makes sense. I think it's also probably not true. I think you don't need to get better. I think you just, one thing
maybe
is
I'm just in
probably,
my head.
Oh, I think one of it is packaging things better. Like if you say, "Hey, come play hole 9 at Maple Hill with me," like that was never how. Like I would never really. Well, the videos that did well, I probably had some like really bad packaging ones, but there's always something about something that is like intriguing or interesting. Like if I'm going to go back and kind of look at some of my older videos that ended up doing well, like getting started. And I think also one thing just about like, oh, I position myself in this way and this stuff. That's actually one of the things that is interesting about my channel now, because now that I'm throwing very high 400s pretty consistently and like still doing disc reviews, like some people are like, man, I can't like relate to your disc reviews as much anymore. And so I'm trying to figure out like, how do I tone that back? So I've introduced my silly second character, Big Tony, where like I throw lefty sometimes to show like, how does this look on a 250-foot line? Like, and that's pretty helpful. But if I'm trying to go back and look at like when my channel first started doing well, which was when I did like my tournaments, and like I think a lot of it is the packaging, and then like your personality will come through, because people like one of the things I was trying to say earlier with my, like, now that I've gotten better, is that space now is probably more opened up, because if I was inhabiting that space of like the in between of MA2, MA1, and then from MA1 to pro, like if you're 928 rated, like that's the high end of like what you can still play in MA2 before you have to go and play into MA1. And so showing that journey, like there's no one showing that journey now, and there's a lot of people who are in that journey now. or like
Yeah.
maybe there are some people and I'm not quite aware of them, but figuring out how to position your videos in a way that is interesting to that audience
Yeah.
and still being there is going to be different, because now there are some people who like just watch me because they've watched me forever, and I really appreciate that. But there's like, I don't serve a certain type of content anymore like I used to, and so now that is more opened up,
Well,
and
I
so
guess I
yeah.
guess what that's basically what I was trying to say. I feel like you were the first, you were like the groundbreaking, the first one to really kind of take post like every day, take people through that journey. And I think that was a huge allure too. That it's like you
Mhm.
said, there was a huge gap in disc golf content. Like
Yeah.
it was like, so we started this over roundtable, but for me it was like Foundation, obviously
Mhm.
Simon, Jomez, but like there was, in my opinion, like I said, I'm talking from like April 2021. There was like Jesse from Trash Panda, Robbie C, and I that was like kind of for me my disc golf YouTube. So when you came on the scene, posting like about your journey every day, high quality, and like eventually a majority of people in Discord are going to see one of your videos just because of the output. You're going to
Mhm.
be featured on their for you page or feature recommendations at least once, just because disc golf's so niche. So I think that's, I'm just trying to give you your flowers. Is that I think that's where you did like a great job. Like you did this thing, and now you're like, and you keep growing, and now we're seeing more people kind of do the same thing. But I think you were kind of like the start of that avenue. Like, here's my journey, here's disc reviews, here's this, here's that, but consistently. I know there's disc reviews,
Mhm.
I know, but it was just like you were like to me the first like day in the life YouTuber for
Mhm.
disc golf.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mentioned the other people like Jesse and Robbie C, but Robbie C was more like, and he's still like more like tips and beginner stuff and like that. And Jesse, his whole thing always was to make this manufacturing thing. But it was
Mhm.
just at the start. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of. I'm just saying why I've kind of like done content differently, because I'm trying to like kind of do what you've done,
Of
like do
course.
a
Yeah.
new thing that
100%.
disc golf hasn't really seen, because I think, um, there's still a ton of room for growth, and I do think I did a good job with like kind of like the acing or getting stuff for money for disc golf. Obviously,
Mhm.
that's like a Mr. Beast like kind of type of idea, but I think it wasn't really in disc golf other than like maybe like some skins matches or something like that. But that's why I was trying to, I guess, do, and that's why I'm doing the newer thing of just kind of sit down and do more game style. So I'm still working through my
Yeah.
type of content, is what I'm saying. But enough about me. It's so funny because this is a disc golf day. It's supposed to be like a interview, but it's just like this feels like us, just like you're in my brother's room again, and we're just like bantering and chatting about.
I have an
Um,
idea as well about something that you just said, if you want to hear it.
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So one of my thoughts with that is, so if we look at the outliers like a Jay Millie, he comes in first video 350,000 views, really great at shorts, like very polished, phenomenal content creator,
Mm,
like just gets it done. That's gonna be like the outlier more than the norm. And so like talking to you and then other people who are potentially interested in getting content, like your your like videos are very interesting. I think the packaging could become like a little bit better, like title thumbnails, just getting that a little cleaner. But overall, like the concepts and the videos are good. Sometimes it just takes a while for audiences to grow there. And so that's where like your ideas, solid, your new stuff, keep doing it. But also if you're sprinkling in stuff that like just from historically, like from my channel, from anybody else's channel, like this has worked before, let me try to put my own spin on it and do it, like sprinkling in those type of videos. Like YouTube is smart enough to segment out populations of your audience, which is why I shared my like audience analytics, because they know that like if I post a video about a tournament, like 20,000 of those people and that 130,000 returning viewers, they're just not going to show them that video, because they know they've showed them that like my tournament videos 4 times before. And YouTube's like, man, they do not watch this. They click on it, they click away after 15 seconds. Like, I don't need them to see this. But they're going to surface that to the people who don't watch my reviews. And they're like, they only watch the tournament videos. And so if you have but there are going to be some people who watch everything, and they'll come in through some sort of content and watch everything. And so growing your overall brand and your presence, if you want to do something new, definitely do that. And if it works, continue doing that and like do what works and continue on it. But if there are things that have worked before that you could put your own spin on, try those out as well and do both of those things, because it might bring momentum to your new content that is very good that no one else is doing, and eventually get it to the point of like of having good momentum, because YouTube is smart and eventually it'll surface content to the right people. But there's other ways to grow momentum than just relying on waiting for YouTube to find this specific video to the right audience. It's why I'm going to start actually doing a lot more with shorts content to grow my subscriber base, because vanity metrics are fun and I want to see that number go up, because I'm a monkey brain and numbers are higher. It means happy things for me. But overall, like doing something that I know works, which is watching how Jay Millie has some shorts that have in the tens of millions. And it's like, okay, let me figure out how to story tell better and make short form content that points directly to some of my long form videos. And when I posted shorts, my returning viewer metrics, like if you, I texted you that screenshot that I
Oh,
have
my
that
bad.
I
I
don't
didn't
know
even
if you
see
want to.
it. Yeah,
Oh
I
no,
haven't
you're
seen
good.
it.
I don't know if you wanted to overlay it at all. If you don't, that's fine. But where you see those big bumps in the returning viewers, that blue line, those big bumps are when I posted shorts. And so, or new viewers, I mean. And so like, that's how I know, okay, there's a way to gain new audiences here. And so posting something that works, that you know works, for me, that's dabbling into more shorts, as well as like trying out new things. And sometimes new things on my channel really work. Sometimes new things on my channel really don't work. But
Hmm.
having the consistency of like, I know I'm posting these reviews of these really popular discs, and I'm like doing my main styles of content that I know have worked, while I also experiment with other things. That could be one of the effective ways for people to like grow from a smaller channel, is do stuff that you know works, but also try new things at the same time. And if you only have energy to do one of those, try the new stuff first. And then eventually, if it doesn't work, like maybe every 4 videos, do something that you know like will work or think will work because historically it has, rather than just trying the new stuff. If your goal is to grow as big an audience as possible, if you just want to make really cool new stuff, just do that. It's all obviously dependent on goals. But if you do
Yeah.
want to make like the content that you are talking about, like you want to make right now, do that as well. And then some people will find your older, other better stuff, because they'll be like, man, it might not get crazy amount of views, but the people who do come in, who are your target audience that you really want from those videos, they'll be like, oh, I really like this guy. They're going to go click and they're going to be like, holy crap, I've seen all these videos. And it's a really good sign to YouTube when like someone watches a video and then they go watch 1, 2, 3, 4 more. That's how your channel grows very quickly. And that's why I posted so much, because people would get in, they'd be like, man, I just binged your last 10 videos. Like I didn't know who you were. And now I just binged all your videos. And so now like that's someone that YouTube's going to recommend my videos all the time. And it's someone who wants to see them, obviously, because they watch a bunch of them. It's not like it's not like you're against the algorithm or it's against you. It's like the algorithm is for people. It wants to show the right people the right videos. And so if you're only posting things that people don't have any context for yet, but is really good, if you can find people through something that like they already know and love, like a disc review, or that's my main context for it. But like that's why I always post disc reviews, because that's where new people always come into my audience. But like I'm posting disc reviews because people are interested in this disc and they might not know who I am, but they want to hear someone's thoughts about a disc. And then they watch the video and they're like, oh, I actually do like this guy, or actually I don't like this guy. And so they click off pretty soon. Then like if they do like me or my content, and then they'll go and maybe look at some other videos. And then the next video like that I post, maybe YouTube will surface it to them. And so bridging the gap between you being the unknown and something that is known to an audience is one of the most helpful ways to do things, which is why disc reviews are so nice, because people already know about the disc. That's why I mostly just do like popular companies on my main channel. And I'm starting to try to like find new series and ways to introduce companies or discs that people don't already know. Because like I posted a video about like the Doomsday disc Bunker Buster, which is this massive Condor sized 7-speed. And I could have just said, hey, Doomsday Discs Bunker Buster review. But if people don't know who that is, the people who know me will go and watch that video and they'll be interested, because it's like, oh, I'm talking about something that's interesting. But instead, I titled that video, "A Disc This Insane Should Not Exist." And it's like, well, yeah, it's crazy. Like, and maybe it's a bit hyperbolic, but I think it's like borne out in the content. And if people clicked on that and a lot of people liked it, and so something like that is like, people don't know what this disc is, but people know that like this can be insane, and they know about PDGA legality. And if I put that in the title, like the thumbnail, like bridging the gap between something that is unknown and you, or you, which is you, and something that is known, especially if you're creating newer content, like that's the way to go. And that's why like even Jay Millie stuff, like his style is very new, but his title and thumbnail and his packaging is very much things that people know. And if he's the unknown, they can click on it and like be interested. Like I threw the weirdest disc ever, thin, wide. People know what it is. They know it's not supposed to be thin and wide on two sides. He posted that video. Obviously, his short gave a lot of traffic to that as well, because that short is on a crazy millions amount of views. But if you were bridging the gap, that's the whole point of packaging something. Your title and thumbnail is like making someone intrigued without lying to them. So it can be like a little bit crazy, but like don't lie to people in their thumbnail. always deliver on what you're talking about, even if it is a little bit extreme, but bridge that gap of someone's not going to know who you are. And I always assume that too. I know there's some of my videos that I know are just for my community, and there's some of my videos that I'm like, I'm trying to find a new audience with this. And those videos, I am much more intentional on my title and thumbnail to make sure that even if you don't know who I am, there's something about this that is already intriguing to you. And so you might want to come in, and then you might want to find all the rest of my content. I think that's my biggest advice to like people who are getting started is make a lot of stuff and like make sure that your stuff is good, but figure out a way to package it truthfully in a way that is intriguing to a wider audience than people who know you, because there's always more people who don't know you than who do know you. And especially I think that's especially true for like even myself. Like I'm always assuming that there are more people who don't know me than who do, because there's always new people getting into disc golf. There's people who are into disc golf who are just getting into watching videos on YouTube, and so there's always going to be room to continue to grow. And the people who do know you will know it's you because you're in the title and thumbnail, and so and this is your channel.
So, let's talk about packaging. So I think this would be a good reference point for any. You said my packaging could be better. Let's go to like the past, whatever, let's go to the past 2 video or 3, whatever.
Sure.
Let's go to the past 2. I don't know. And give me some tips on how my packaging could be better to get more views. And hopefully in turn, that'll help whoever's listening get
sure
better.
Yeah. So let me pull it up on this screen so I don't look like I'm just looking completely to the side.
Yeah, but I wish I could overlay it, but it's
no worries. So I actually been talking a lot and thinking a lot recently about packaging, because I still think that I have a massively long way to go in packaging my videos very well. So I'm very much not the expert.
Well, I was listening to a podcast with like about it too, like Colin and Samir, but they were talking about packaging. So I was like, that's why it intrigued me.
Yeah. So for me, the hierarchy of content is topic, packaging, content. Your topic has to be really good, because if your topic isn't good, you can have the best packaging, best content ever, but there's only going to be a certain amount of people who are interested in that. Your topic can be like decent, but you have really good packaging, meaning that like that Doomsday Disc Bunker Buster, there's not inherently a lot of people who are interested in this, but there's a lot of people who are interested in really weird discs. So if I title it about this disc, there's not a lot of people who already know it. But if I title it about weird discs, that's a much wider audience of people who would be intrigued about this disc. They just don't know about it yet. And so I want to be someone who introduces that to them. And then the third thing is making sure that your content is always super, super good. But you can have a really good video, and if you can't figure out how to title and thumbnail it correctly, and it's not a good topic, like if no one clicks, no one's going to watch, essentially. So figure out the topics first, and then a title and thumbnail also go with the intro. So packaging to me is title, thumbnail, intro, because if I have a really good title and thumbnail, and then I take 5 minutes to get to what I'm talking about in the title and thumbnail, people are already gone from that video. So I always try to reaffirm and then build on that in the intro of the video. And so it's like for instance, my last video I just posted was with my buddy Broderick. We were talking about forehands. I think I changed the title a bunch of times because I'm still have so much room to go, where ultimately what I would love to be able to do is have a title and thumbnail already done and ready to go before I go out and shoot the content, because I know this is going to be really solid. And yeah, you could change that, but at least having that idea down pat and ready before I actually go and shoot it. But it just doesn't work like that a lot of times, especially posting as much as I do and being as undisciplined as I have been about it. But I think I titled that video like he gave me his pro forehand secrets. And so if you click on that, you expect not only if you know who I am, you expect a new character. You expect 2 people, because you say he gave me his pro forehand secrets, and you also expect something like to be reaffirmed, like, why am I watching this? Like, is this video actually good? And so I start out the video with like, in just about 30 minutes, my forehand went from this to this, and I show like a before and after. And so immediately there's verification of like, okay, this worked in some capacity. It's not like this crazy change. And I didn't try to pull like the most ridiculous, like terrible shot I've ever thrown and best shot. It was kind of more like, this kind of was the average of what it was, and this is the average of what it turned into. And so it went from this to this. And then so there's already like, okay, this is good, and this is who this person was. And then I build on that from the intro into like, okay, I also have 3 goals for this video. And so you've been reaffirmed that like the title and thumbnail is going to deliver because you've seen it work, and then we've introduced the new character and told you that he has a 70-mile-an-hour forehand. You've seen him throw, and it's really solid. And then I'm like, okay, there's also 3 goals that we want to do. And so now you're waiting for those goals to be fulfilled. And so getting all that done in the first like 10 to 35 seconds is something that's really important to me. And so going back to your videos, it's hard because I've watched some of them. I haven't like watched the most recent one, a non-disc golf fan guesses pros names. Um, but yeah, I think one, that video, having that be like,
That's my first like kind of
yeah,
newer trying to
style.
yeah, because I think I've tried to position myself. The reason also I've tried to
Yeah.
position myself in the way I have is because like I run the disc golf expos. That takes a lot of time. I own another
Mhm.
store. I don't really have time to go out and just like shoot content all the time. So I was trying to position myself as like kind of more like like a Jay Millie. Like I post once a month, but it's a banger type
Yeah,
stuff, and that's why I was doing more interesting like Mr. Beast esque style videos that are so I could post like once a month, and they're very interesting because you know I have just other things going on. So
yeah,
that's why, and that was my first introduction to like the new style, because the new style of content. The reason I want to do that is because a lot of these challenge videos take a lot of time, so I sometimes want to sprinkle in something that I could just like shoot literally right here, edit it, and then
for sure. So I think with something like that, I think that makes it especially important that you nail the packaging before you shoot the
mhm.
video, because you have so many less at bats. Like that's one of the benefits of posting as much as I do is, and one of the reasons why I love it is because I have so many at bats. Like I have so many opportunities to get things right that if I have a bunch of 8 out of 10s, which most of my videos are more in like the six, like the 4 to 8 out of 10 range in terms of like my last 10 videos. Most of them are average to below average, not like the big crazy banger videos, because I just am posting so much that it's okay that I have those, because I also have like a better baseline. But I also just sent you a picture that actually I think Swanky Disc Golf did this really well. They did disc golf noobs guess disc prices, and so it's very similar to this. A non disc golf fan guesses pro names, and so their thumbnail is just someone holding up a disc, and it's a disc that is obviously very expensive to somebody who knows disc golf, so that's
Mhm.
what's known. And then they say $5, and then you're like, okay, what are these crazy guesses going to be? And so putting something, so like your if you go into your video, you could probably pull like a still more of a still from the video instead of the picture that you have of the guy's face, and then like have a picture of Calvin up there like you do. And then one, Paul Macbeth is actually, that name is covered by the timestamp on there, and just so you can't really see that very well, the time
Yeah, I
code.
know.
And so just moving that in a way, there's like some what do you call it? Like guides online for what is going to be shown and what's not going to be shown on the thumbnail. But the not a disc golf fan, well, one, there's 4 things that you want to be seen in that. You want to have the guy who's not a disc golf fan's face. You want to have Calvin. You want to have the name, and then you want to have the text, not a disc golf fan. And so I think it's better to have 2 or 3 subjects total. This is something that's been told to me by people who are way better at YouTube than I am, and I'm still getting way better at this. But having not a disc golf fan point to the guy, it's assumed that he's not a disc golf fan, because we know who Calvin is and we don't know who the other dude is. And
Yeah.
so if you have in the title a non-disc golf fan guesses pro names, you're going to assume that the non-disc golf fan is not Calvin Heimberg, but it's the other guy in the thumbnail. And so if you just were to change that arrow to maybe pointing towards Calvin, and then put like a crazy name, Paul Macbeth, pointed at him, decent name. Also, if are you having them guess from a list? Because I haven't watched it. Are you having them guess from a list, or are you having them guess just a random name? Because if it's a
Um,
random name, then you could just like put something insane on there.
no,
But
it's a I put up an image and from a list. Yeah, sorry. So put up
okay,
an image and it's from a list, but there's obviously like a few people that weren't even on um
hmm
imaged. It wasn't like cross out like I put like Luke Humphreys, who wasn't even in the video at all. It's just like to throw
yeah,
him off so we can guess,
of
like
course,
actually guess.
yeah, yeah. I think like one quick change with this thumbnail would be just taking out the not a disc golf fan, replacing that with Paul Macbeth, and then pointing the arrow to Calvin instead of
Okay, cool.
to the other guy. What you could also do is change that face from a face to just a still of like him looking confused. Let me see if I can find one really fast.
And
Um,
maybe should I change it to my face since people might know me more on my channel, or
uh, it could be. I think so. This still right here on number 4. I'll send you this as well. I feel like this is just like a little silly brainstorming session. So his face there is more a little bit
it's good
intriguing,
though.
and so him looking over at that, uh, you could be in the thumbnail as well if you want. I would have a I would I would have a way that like you are showing him the thing though. And so like if there's a way that if there's a time that you ever like hold up your phone or something like that, then replacing you on that left side with you holding up Calvin, because that way it's like less information. Or just having him look over, but him looking at you in this photo is pretty good, but adding Calvin in and then saying like Paul Macbeth and have that over him, like in air quotes or in quotations or something like that would be like more intriguing than, because the main crux of your thumbnail right now is not a disc golf fan, and I think that gets across in your title. And so
Got
having
it.
something that is different than that, and so like a non-disc golf fan guesses pro names, boom. And then if we go over to the Simon one, random disc golf challenges for cash, and then we have a winner with Simon holding up cash. I
Hmm.
think if people saw Simon in the thumbnail, they would almost assume that he was a winner. So if he lost, it might be better to put loser and then point to Simon with a sad face. But he didn't lose, so you put winner. And so maybe putting like what the challenges are, or one of the challenges. And so if it's like Simon, what did Simon have to do in that video? Because Simon is great in the thumbnail.
You were there for that moment actually.
Oh yeah,
It was at
What did he
Meadowbrook
do?
CTP. You were literally there with us
I
in
know.
person. It
I
was
forgot.
CTP on hole one red.
How far was that shot?
I don't know, like 250, 300
Oh, okay,
maybe. I don't know.
gotcha.
Just a
Yeah,
hyzer.
yeah. Putting something more of like the action of something that was going on. Random disc golf challenges for cash, and then you just have winners. So like, okay, he won, but what did he have to do to win? That's more interesting than just the fact that someone won. It's like, what are they having to do to win? Um, and so just be, yeah, that's the main thought. And then the other two, Gannon versus Cordolan for money, front nine, back nine, having the same thumbnail on those, you're always in the second one because people think they already watched the video. They're not gonna see back nine and assume that they haven't watched that. You're gonna like change that in some way, and maybe adding front nine back nine on the first versus the second one, but having some different thumbnails.
Well, yeah, I put it
Uh,
under the timestamp, but again, it looks like I'm king of doing that.
oh yeah, well I genuinely didn't even see that. Like putting that in the middle could be interesting, or if somebody won, like having them holding up the money or something like that, or like some action is always interesting. That first thumbnail is pretty. I like that first thumbnail because it's you holding up money. They're obviously fighting for it. The second one, pretty interesting. Maybe you can go front nine and just put the back nine in the middle of it,
Yeah.
or some sort of text that has something that is interesting for the video, or just changing that thumbnail completely. But I really think the first one, pretty easy change. Just change the text to Paul Macbeth and switch the arrow to Calvin, and that video will probably do like better views already. You could change it to a still. That's a more like interesting photo of like him looking over at Calvin and being like, "Is this Paul Macbeth?" And like putting quotes around Paul Macbeth as well, because that's showing that he's saying it. Because otherwise, some people who might not know who Calvin and Paul are might just think that like, "Oh, this is Paul Macbeth," and he got it wrong. And when it's just Calvin, and so putting quotes around Paul Macbeth is going to show that that's what he is saying. But yeah, those are some general thoughts. I'm still not great at it. I learn more and more.
No, this helped me though for sure.
But yeah,
Yeah, no, that this and for this to apply to you, you obviously you'd have to go to my channel for it to make sense. But I think that's a huge thing that um that I think will help a lot of people is because I've heard packaging. I think for me, it's just like I like the idea. Like this has turned less an interview, more of like a podcast. How I do it on Funzy and Staggered Stance, but that's okay. You know, um, for me, I think I like the idea of being like a content creator like you and Jay Millie,
hmm
but I don't think I have the passion for it in that way. I think because I have, you know, the expos and that's my main thing. I think that's kind of my main, always going to be my main focus, hopefully, and it keeps growing. So I think that's
yeah,
why I'm just kind of like in this weird content where I don't post as much, and it's kind of like, but and how it's like I try to make like kind of unique. It's because like I like the idea of it, and I like doing it, but it's just I don't know if I'm like super like passionate about being a content creator just because I have something in disc golf that I really do love and I want to grow. And it's the same. We take the same approach. We got to work hard. We got to add in, try and grow it. And it's just I have it in a different avenue. So I think that's ultimately at the end of the day, that's why I post kind of the things I do, is because stuff that's entertaining to me and that I want to do. It's not really, I'm not so much trying to um, make it go like get a bunch of subscribers. Like I want them to get views and stuff like that, but it's just stuff that like, you know, I want to do. And that's kind of, I didn't know this until recently, but that's kind of like where my journey's led me. Cause I took like from March on was like my chance at like, you know, becoming like full time in disc golf, trying it out. Because I was able to, we got like more employees at the shack. So I was able to get more focused on like disc golf. And I think I slowly started to realize, you know, content isn't like where my heart's at. And, you know, that's,
Yeah,
but I love podcasting.
that's
Don't get me
sweet.
wrong. Podcasting,
Yeah.
I love podcasting. I think it's because I can just sit down, do this, and I upload it, and then it's, you know, it's up. And,
Yeah.
I'm talking about more like kind of like going out there and like planning all the shots, because I don't think people realize how much brain capacity and how much time it actually takes to plan these things, and
Hmm.
actually go shoot them and then edit them. Especially, it's just like,
Yeah.
you know, it's literally like another job basically. If you're doing what you're doing, I mean, it's your full time job. I'm just saying, but even like, I bet you've gotten really good at it. But I'd guess like one video through and through takes like at least a decent amount of hours
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
per
For sure.
per video.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's really the key. Is like it's not going to be for everybody,
yeah,
and that's like one okay, but also like it's better to realize that by trying. You know, like you
yeah,
tried and you don't want to do it, and that's you know that better now. And now you're like you're never gonna be in the back of your mind like, oh my gosh, I really should just be doing this all the time. You know, like do what you actually want and love to do. Like that's the whole point of it.
and that's why I think I said the whole I want to get better and play, because I love playing disc golf, and if I could just
Mhm.
have like, if I could just have someone follow me play disc golf and then edit it, like that's my dream, because I love just playing disc golf. But I understand me as a person, like you said, I have to package it. It would have to be a hook. Like there's
Mhm.
like people just watch like Gannon or Simon just because it's them and they're pros and they're playing disc golf. It's because
Yeah.
so I think that's why I said what I said earlier, is because I want to get to a point where like I can just show up to a course and play, and that's the hook that people want to see. Not that I like melted a marshmallow on my disc and, you know, try
Yeah.
to see what it did.
Yeah. And that's where it's gonna be very
Tough.
hard.
Yeah, it
Like
was gonna be tough because yeah, like these are the best players in the world. So
you need
I'm not
something
saying I'm never
inherently
gonna.
more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like in an ideal scenario, like
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah.
For sure. I'm
Well,
making your new thumbnail actually right now.
like, dude, if it's cool with you, I'm gonna send you my thumbnail. What I think is gonna be my thumbnail. I'll send you the final product. I won't even brainstorm with you, and then you can critique what you think should be different in my next video.
Sounds good.
Um, but yeah, this was definitely a longer disc golf daily episode. So
Has to be. I'm a professional yapper, man. You
yeah,
got me
yeah,
on.
we
Sorry.
both are. This is good though. I hope you, if anything, I hope you got from this, if you are an inspiring content creator, just what you can do and how you can do, and how there's so many opportunities and lanes in disc golf and content creation to take up on. I hope this podcast and brainstorm session kind of inspired you to go after it, because you know we're obviously very passionate about this stuff, just in, like I said, different ways. Like mine's more of like a on a business event side, and his is like creating content side.
Mhm.
So yeah, is there anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah. Shout out Infinite, my sponsor, main sponsor. They made it also way easier just having more consistency this month or this year. And then my channel. That's it. I don't know. Like watching is the best
Go
way.
follow
You don't
him.
even need to subscribe. Yeah. I also just sent you a new thumbnail for that video if you want to
Let's
use it.
here. Ready? I'll pull it up for anyone watching on.
If
Oh, that was
anyone is
so
like, what the heck
fast.
was he talking about? Yeah.
Okay.
Come
Okay.
on. Exposure. Oh, my exposure might be better. Let's see.
Yeah, yours is definitely better because mine's just a webcam. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I 100% think. Yeah, I appreciate because that would have
Oh
been
yeah.
way better, like way better. But exactly, that's the thing I'm learning,
You just like
and
it's there's so much that you just don't know what you don't know, and I feel like that's why I always feel like I'm kind of at that bottom of that Dunning Kruger curve where it's like I think I know stuff, and then there's more that I don't know. I think I know stuff, and there's more that I don't
hmm
know, and the
exactly.
more that you do like that, that's kind of like the hallmark of actually becoming an expert. I feel like it's like
Yeah.
you're getting through all of those. I know this, no, I don't. I know this, no, I don't. I know this, no, I don't. And the more of those that you can trudge through, the more of an actual expert you
Yeah,
become.
exactly. And like I said, I'm learning. I'm going to keep learning. And to me, content creation is just always going to be kind of a hobby that I want to do when I have like something to share. When I say content, like I said, video podcasting, I love doing, and I'll probably be doing it every week for
Yeah,
hopefully ever. But yeah. So thanks. This is like a cool little like boot camp session, and we'll have to get you on the Funzy podcast to actually get some more context on just the incredible things you do, because that's our Funzy thing is more of like a content creator focus, I guess, of that, because we
cool.
have Jay Millie hosting it and
Yeah,
Sacco, who are both their primary thing is content creation.
yeah,
um,
they're sweet.
so but everyone go check them out. Thank you so much, Anthony, and we will catch y'all later.
Thank you. Gotta go change the diapers. Peace.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really does help us grow.